ladies and gentlemen, Charania.
Shami,
saw your hair a little messy this morning. Thought we were going to maybe get celebratory Sham
What are you
Charania.
talking about? What?
You know what I'm talking about. You had your model shit going on.
This.
No.
I wake up like this.
You don't. Yeah, you actually looked cooler with the way your hair
was. Like a messy.
It was like a sloppy spike for Sham Charania. You looked super duper cool. I just want to let you know that we were lucky to see that out of you this morning.
Well, listen, I do tend to wake up like that. All right, no, I don't wake up like that. But maybe in a summer edition we can bring that back here. But I'm not ready for that yet.
Today would have been the day, because people could have thought like maybe Sham Charania was having some lunch for dinner last night. We know how much he loves lunch. Maybe he turned it into dinner for a celebratory situation. Maybe he took out his fork and ate his oatmeal and his yogurt and everything with his fork. Maybe last night you just kind of did it all, had water, a lot more alarms for the water.
Right.
But just like you said was going to happen, on May 24th on this program, I don't know where you said it anywhere else, but JJ Redick is now the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. 4 years, $32 million deal. Okay. It was in your article that you reported that. It's actually 4 years, $16 million with Uncle Sam and the California taxes being what they are. So let's just go through this whole thing. Why do you think there is a narrative out there that JJ Redick is maybe not the right coach for the Los Angeles Lakers? And how pumped is JJ Redick to now be a coach in the NBA? You can kind of answer that however you want. And congrats on calling this about a month ago.
Yeah, JJ Redick is ecstatic to get this job. He really wanted to be an NBA head coach, and he's been on two different tracks here, right? We know about his media career. We know his role as an analyst, calling games this season at a high level, calling games in the NBA Finals. And as much as he was deep on that and he was really committed to that, there was another lane that he was pursuing, and that was being an NBA head coach. He interviewed for the Charlotte Hornets job about a month and a half ago, and that was an important job for him as well. If the Charlotte Hornets had offered him that position, I think that was something he would have taken very seriously. But when the Lakers position opened up and when that became a viable option for him, obviously, he had interest, and in my sense is even watching and calling some of these games in the NBA playoffs, that gave JJ Redick an understanding of what he would do if he was an NBA head coach, how he would operate. And everything kind of crystallized really over the last couple weeks. And a big component of that was him going in and spending time with Jeannie Buss, ownership, and the Lakers, and sharing his vision. And what the Lakers saw from JJ Redick is a coach that's flexible, someone that is not going to be stuck on a roster to be able to determine and dictate exactly how he wants to manage his team offensively and defensively. He wants to be flexible. And I think he looks at guys like Eric Spoelstra around the league that have the ability to essentially mold their team, mold their system based on the roster. That's going to be very important for him. And the other component is he saw with this team two issues and things that he wants to go in and work on. And that's Anthony Davis and his workload, and offensively, how Anthony Davis was being utilized the last couple of years. He wants to make Anthony Davis feel more involved, especially down the stretch of games. And then another thing, and this is more important, Pat, and we're going to see how this plays out. I'm very interested to see how this plays out. But playing LeBron James more off the ball, that is something that JJ Redick has spoken about over the last couple of weeks in his conversations with the Lakers. We know how dominant LeBron is on the ball, so how can he make this work? Maybe having three ball handlers to really start the offense. So all of this started to crystallize with JJ Redick. He's really been the focus for the Lakers for the last month. He's the guy that they've wanted really for the last 4 weeks of this coaching search. And it wasn't a coincidence. I think I said it around that point. It was interesting that the timing just start to align with the NBA Finals coming to an end and them really gearing into shape with JJ Redick. And finally agreeing to that contract yesterday. But JJ Redick really started on the job this week. He had a conversation with Anthony Davis, I heard, on Monday. Cool. And they had a conversation. They spoke about how JJ Redick views Anthony Davis. So JJ Redick, in his mind, has really been aiming and pushing on this job really since the week began.
We're happy for JJ. Congrats, JJ.
Attaboy, JJ.
If this is what JJ wants, happy for JJ. And I think there was another place he obviously, you've chatted about in the past where he could have been a head coach. He is a ball lover, and I think that's the trait that you basketball.
Yeah, pause. Yep.
Basketball lover.
We got you.
He's a junkie. He's
Basketball
a fiend
junkie,
when it
okay.
comes to the game of basketball.
junkie.
Nose ball,
Good
basketball lover.
Right.
Yeah.
He
Ball
lives
lover,
and
though.
breathes this.
Yeah, that too.
And that's something the Lakers can see as well. That's what anyone that spends any time with JJ Redick, they can see how much he loves the game. And you have to be tireless when it comes to that profession of coaching. There's no day off, there's no night off, there's no second off. And the fact that JJ Redick understands that, he embraces that challenge, and that is one thing that he's going to be very happy about, is that this is one position that you can literally only talk about basketball the entire time. There's not much focus on anything else. But when you're coaching the Lakers, there's going to be other things to talk about as well.
That's what I'm saying. The other stuff that potentially comes with this, if you win for the Lakers, and JJ Redick, think about the Duke connections he already has.
Oh, yeah.
Duke has a lot of these connections all over the place. If he wins as the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, now it's going to be tough. I understand it's going to be very difficult in the NBA. JJ becomes one of the most famous pieces of pop culture in Los Angeles with the way they will think about.
Oh, yeah.
He is the perfect candidate for that.
Big push.
With especially the way he speaks, the way.
He's got the look. He's got the LA. When you think about the suits, you think about the look, the hair. That's why Pat Riley gets brought up a little bit.
Tats.
Yeah,
that's why Pat Riley gets brought up a little bit around, behind the scenes with the Lakers. When you think about a guy that's gone from commentating to then coaching, JJ Redick, obviously he played. Pat Riley played. I'm not saying JJ Redick is going to be like Pat Riley, but obviously if you're the Lakers, you have to think about the positives, and they made those comparisons early. And one thing to also point out is Coach K was very involved as an informal consultant as part of this coaching search, from what I'm told. And obviously we know Coach K's relationship with JJ Redick, Coach JJ Redick, and that was someone that the Lakers leaned on, relied on, talked to, not only about JJ Redick, but other candidates, and really getting a feel from Coach K on how to manage, how a coach, especially a first-time guy like JJ Redick, can come in and establish a culture. They don't want JJ Redick to only coach LeBron James for the next 2 years. They want JJ Redick to be their next coach for the next 3 to 4 years. That's why I do think they're going to allow JJ Redick to an extent to coach through some of his mistakes that are going to happen early on.
3 to 4 years is an eternity in the NBA.
Yeah, true.
And head coach, especially nowadays, especially with the Lakers, especially with LeBron, especially in the modern NBA, seemingly. If he's able to win, what a time for JJ Redick. It's going to get loud over there. It's going to get loud.
No matter what.
So if you think about what the Lakers did, they bring in Coach K to consult, okay? Then you're obviously got LeBron James, who's his podcast co-host. It's almost like the Lakers were hoping.
Kind of gift wrap.
They were hoping JJ was the guy.
It was like,
and then they watched Mind the Game. They talked to Coach K.
I think they knew JJ Redick was the guy for the last month, Pat. And I think allowing JJ Redick to fully focus on, what was important for JJ Redick the last month was commentating, was his job. Like there's a lot that goes into calling games, right? And I think he for sure wanted that focus to be on that.
I do wish he would have been like, what they need to do is run the set that we're going to run next year for the Lakers. So they need to, during while he's
they saw a lot of that on the podcast, though. There was a lot of that on Mind the Game.
Yeah, so
I think they got a great look at JJ Redick, the coach, on the podcast.
Yeah, how about LeBron going, all right, riddle me this. Two guys, and JJ's like, yeah, give me the dry erase board. I'm doing this. And then all of us are like, wow, I feel like I just got smart. Look to have success. It's not just your stars, though, or your coach. Seemingly, you got to have a full team. We learned that, obviously, with Boston and all the teams that failed. Go ahead, Ty.
Yeah, Shams, you mentioned the roster, and I think it was Brian Windhorst this morning who basically said, like, hey, if the Lakers would have traded for Alex Caruso, that would have been a bigger deal than signing JJ Redick as head coach because their roster has so many question marks. So what are they going to do to kind of try to fill out this team and make them more competitive? Because they obviously can't just run back what they did last year with how tough the Western Conference is.
That's why the pressure is on the Lakers front office to make major changes on the roster to an extent because, like you said, this team came up short this past year. And when you think about JJ Redick and the principles that he wants to implement, defense, point of attack defenders, versatile players, and what we saw with Boston, like a few years ago with the Warriors, you saw the Warriors kind of change the game. I think the Celtics, in a way, people are going to try to follow their trend. When you think about they have 5 players, especially in their starting lineup, that can do multiple things Neither of them are weak defensively. They play both sides of the ball.
Right.
That is very, very important. And you can't have holes. You can't have a player that might be a negative for you defensively. So I think they're going to look at that side of the ball, and they have to be aggressive. One name that they did pursue last season at the trade deadline that I think teams around the league expect to come up again in trade conversations over the next week or so and make sense for the Lakers is DeJounte Murray with the Hawks. That's someone that you think about over the next week or so. What do the Hawks do, not only with the number 1 overall pick, but they potentially have a decision to make with Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, which player stays, which player goes. And the Lakers have maintained a level of interest in DeJounte Murray over the last several months.
No, because we were told Trae's the one leaving.
Yeah.
Not Murray.
And DeJounte Murray's talking to Kawhi Leonard in Paris.
Yeah, you put up a picture of his hair.
Yeah.
So,
well,
does Atlanta not know which one's leaving? Is that like a...
Atlanta is still unsure about which... I mean, a lot of it comes down to value, right? If you can get more value for one player than the other, then you have to look at that. They're still not 100% set on the value that they can attain in the marketplace. And that's why draft is coming up Wednesday, Thursday. There will be a much better sense come Wednesday, Thursday as far as which direction Atlanta could go in. They also, at the same time, they got to figure out that number 1 overall pick, what they're going to do with that pick.
Okay, so why don't you tell the Lakers whenever you have your little discussions and they give you the inside scoop, which we now know this guy's plugged with the Lakers.
Yep.
Okay, TJ McConnell's not available. Okay, sounds like he would be the perfect player for the Lakers. Just know that he's not available.
Never will be.
He's never will be. He's a pacer for the rest of his life. So you tell Pelinka.
The Pacers are working to extend TJ McConnell. That is someone that they want around for the long haul.
Okay, good. Just make sure they know that. Okay, that is certainly something they need. Last question here about JJ Redick and the Lakers from Tone.
Yeah, Shams, I haven't heard yet. Are they going to continue to do the Mind the Game pod? Or is that just going to be like the film room with the rest of the guys in the room? Or how's that going to work?
I have not heard definitively yet, but it would be hard-pressed for me to see a regular media podcast from a sitting NBA head coach with its star player. I mean, just imagine losing 3 or 4 games or being on a back-to-back or being in a tough stretch of adversity and doing a podcast. That is not something that people...
Well, I'm bummed out. I was learning basketball. Let's pivot away from the Lakers. Let's talk a little bit about other basketball news that happened yesterday that obviously got buried under the JJ Redick to the Lakers news. Caruso traded out of Chicago to Oklahoma City for Giddey. It was just player for player. There's no other picks, nothing. What is this? Is this Caruso saying, get me out of Chicago? Is this the Bulls saying we need to move on? Caruso, great player, right? For the Bulls. I do know that there's been like trade conversations with Caruso for like the last year and a half, seemingly. Now he's let go by the Bulls just for another player. No offense to Giddey, but like, is this expected? How should we view this? And what does this mean for both teams?
The Bulls have had offers of 1, 2 first-round picks on the table over the last couple of years for Alex Caruso. They chose to keep him. They wanted to keep him, but I think it became apparent around there over the last few weeks that an extension was something that Alex Caruso wanted, and being a part of a situation, potentially contending type situation, that was important for him moving forward. And it really, this trade just depends on how you view Josh Giddey. And some people have their opinions on Josh Giddey. The Bulls, they love Josh Giddey. They really, for the last year or so, they've looked into Josh Giddey. They've scouted him. They've looked at him deeply. And with Lonzo Ball, you not being sure about his future at that position, whether he's going to be able to play at a high level again, they felt like this was an opportunity, getting someone that they can build with for the next 4 or 5 years and trading someone who's now 30 years old, who's trying to win and being part of a more contending situation. So this literally just comes down to the future of Josh Giddey. The Bulls are very high. The Bulls are bullish on Josh Giddey and his future. They believe he has potential. Obviously, as a shooter, that's an area that he has to improve. But from a ball handling perspective, passing, we see right there, he can bring that. Just 2 years ago, he averaged 17, 8, and 7. So this is someone that has shown some potential.
Okay, so Caruso, they're going to get a deal done. He's going to be in Oklahoma City forever. It's Caruso town.
Probably.
And with that Oklahoma City team, they're young. You add Caruso, they got to, I mean.
Perfect.
Are we talking about Oklahoma City all of a sudden? I mean, this is.
We've been talking about Oklahoma City as a contender. They have arrived.
No, amen. Yeah, in the playoffs run. But like, we're talking about JJ Redick and the Lakers. Like, if they win, they go and do the thing. It's like, Oklahoma City just had a phenomenal playoff run. Everybody talking about SGA and how young they are and how good they are and yada, yada, all that stuff. Like, this is not but like, immediately
They're
after they get
competing for
eliminated.
championships.
Yeah,
They're competing for championships moving forward.
But as soon
for
as they
sure.
get eliminated, nobody talks about it. It's like Oklahoma City. Okay, we still got Denver. How's Denver going to bounce back? And it's like Phoenix. Well, Phoenix is going to figure it out right now because they got a whole new situation brewing down there with the coach. And then Timberwolves, Ant-Man's the next one.
Yep.
JJ Redick and the Lakers are going to be waiting. It's like nobody really talks about Oklahoma City. And then they just brought in Caruso, who's a dog.
Yeah.
It's like they got legitimately better.
One
seeds.
seed,
Over, it's like, holy shit, Oklahoma City might ruin all the fun and games for every NBA conversation that's happening in the West all of a sudden.
They're building, and they still have salary cap space. They have almost 30 million range of salary cap space that people expect them to use either in trades or in free agency. And so they're a team to continue to monitor. I think you look at that center position, that's still a position that could need one more body. I think they're still going to be active when you think about that center spot, whether it's someone coming off the bench to relieve Chet Holmgren or playing alongside Chet Holmgren. That's going to continue to be a focus for the Thunder. But this was a move for them that takes them one step closer to contending, one step closer to winning. They got a taste of that playoff experience. They didn't know exactly what they had. They didn't know how these pieces would all align and look come playoff time. They won one series. Obviously, they lost in the second round. They feel like Caruso can make an impact for them. They're still trying to get one or two more pieces as well.
Yeah, and I assume Caruso feels like he can as well. I think he's probably going to be pretty excited to join that squad down there. And I think that entire team, and maybe the entire city, should be very pumped that the only reason they didn't win this year. So it's a whole new. That was potentially. Once they let that out into the universe was like, not this year.
Yep.
This can't happen at the same exact.
Just set them free. Just set them free now.
Bingo. That's what it is. Caruso comes. We got a whole new year. Set them free from that entire thing. I'm excited for next year's Oklahoma City team. Now, are they going to maybe bring a guy back? Connor has a question for you.
Shams, it's being reported now that Paul George might opt in to his option and then ask for a trade to where he wants to go. What's the status on that? And also, thank you for congratulating me on winning an NBA championship.
You don't need any more. I thought we did that the other day. I don't think there's any more. I thought you'd be at the parade, BC.
No. Next year.
Kind of upset that you're not at the parade. Should have sent you out there as a correspondent.
Next year.
I should have plugged that in there. Paul George.
Yeah, we have no connection with the Celtics.
None.
Let's let this be known. We have reached out numerous times. People wonder why we didn't have any Celtics on throughout this entire time. We've reached out. We're talking ghosted, just completely, which we respect. Most banners in the history of the NBA, but it's not for a lack of effort. We would like to let that be known on our side in this entire thing.
I would think they've been swamped, but I mean, someone's got to. Some Celtics got to come.
It's been a few weeks. It's been a few. But hey,
Paul George,
it's Boston Celtics.
That's right.
Boston Celtics. Paul George. Yeah, let's get back to Paul George. Yep, let's get back to Paul George.
Yeah, so Paul George still figuring out his future. I think multiple routes can be at play, right? Opting in, getting traded. He's done that before, or he's seen that be done before. That's something that Chris Paul has done in the past. We've seen players opt in, trade. That has taken place. Paul George a few years ago, he's never been a part of real free agency. He's been traded before. He's extended. He's been traded. But to really, truly experience free agency, I think that's something Paul George seems like he's on that route of doing and experiencing it and being out in a marketplace with teams. But one team that has been mentioned with him is Philadelphia. And you never say never. You never say 100%. But right now, the signal that they're giving teams around the league is they are open for business. They have $40 million in cap space. They have multiple draft picks that they can trade. And they feel like over the next week or so, they can be aggressive. And if there's an option that presents itself, they can move now and not have to wait on Paul George in free agency. And so there's someone to keep an eye on over the next week or so. How do they use that salary cap space? But Paul George, he'll have multiple options. I mean, whether it's going back to the Clippers, there's going to be multiple suitors for him in the marketplace.
Okay, I can't wait to see. Maybe he comes back to Indiana.
Yeah, maybe the Spurs with Wemby.
Yeah, they need to.
Bingo.
They were saying Trae Young was maybe going to end up going there, but now it's not much. Trae Young might be in Atlanta still.
Which is wild.
Because we were told he's gone because they're keeping Murray. But instead, now Murray might be going to the Lakers and Trae might stay in Atlanta.
Don't love that.
I don't understand what the hell's going on. The NBA is a wild place. Thanks for keeping it all in track for us, Shams. You're the man, and congrats on somebody else getting hired and getting a new deal to another team that you said was going to happen.
May 24th. On PMS. Shout out PMS.
Shout out the program. Ladies and gentlemen, Sean Charania.
Yeah.